This is Nick.
This is Jack.
Welcome back. It is Monday, March 27th, and today's pod is the best one yet. It's T-Boy.
Nick, how was Aspen? Did you get your tongue stuck on a chairlift like Dumb and Dumber?
The altitude is getting to me, Jack.
You've been wearing an extra pair of gloves this whole time.
Well, the altitude's so bad, I've got an IV of coconut water right now, Jack. In the meantime, Jack, what's our first story for today's pod?
The biggest player in clothing rental is not Rent the Runway.
Get this, Yeti's Urban Outfitters is the new queen of rental.
For our second story, Apple is spending $1 billion a year to produce movies specifically for movie theaters.
Because a movie theater screen happens to be the same size as a billboard.
And our third and final story is Ford. Ford just revealed two secrets about their electric cars.
Ford just updated its dating profile.
But Yetis, before we hit that fantastic mix.
I just love this mix. This is a great mix, Jack.
Hoarder's Almanac Week 158.
Things we're running out of in the economy. Jack and I have been keeping track for you.
This week we are running out of cookies.
Specifically, Girl Scout cookies.
That's right, Yetis. It is that time of the year when your boss is going to stroll by your desk and ask you to buy some cookies for their little girl.
You want a bonus, so you're going to buy some cookies from your boss directly.
Girl Scout cookies. It's an industry that's a profit puppy.
Get this, the Girl Scouts are bringing in a whopping $800 million in revenues a year.
Hey, Mark Benioff, that's a sales force.
That is 3 Allbirds worth of revenue, Jack.
But the newest Girl Scout cookie concoction is MIA.
We're talking about Raspberry Rally. Picture a Thin Mint infused with raspberry ganache.
Raspberry Rally is the latest Girl Scout cookie. It's a freaky new flavor that is nowhere to be found.
I mean, Jack, Raspberry Rally, it's the new Samoa. It's delicious.
And America has such a craving for this new cookie, we now have a nationwide shortage.
We are running out of Raspberry Rallies, man.
Kahoki Christmas. But in every cookie, there's some potential coin to be made.
Besties, get this. People are buying this Girl Scout cookie for $5 and then reselling it on eBay for $100.
We're not talking ticket scalping. We're talking cookie crusting.
What Jack and I are saying here is that if you got a closet full of these Girl Scout cookies, then you are the next Warren Buffett.
Now, Yetis, Girl Scout teaches girls about friendship, learning, and adventure.
But apparently, Jack, they're also teaching about speculative investing, secondary markets, and day trading.
And cornering the market.
Who took the cookie from the cookie jar?
Not me.
Tiffany, when did you get that Lexus?
It's my mom's.
Jack, let's hit our 3 stories.
15 years before this song, 2 boys from the Northeast met in a dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Urban Outfitters' most exciting business isn't what it sells, it's what it rents.
Urban's clothing rental business, Newly, is beating Rent the Runway.
All right, well, Jack, we just finished Paris Fashion Week, but I don't see you or me in Paris right now, and I'm kind of confused.
Who are we going to blame? The U.S. Postal Service or Anna Wintour?
Hey, Anna, our invite got lost in the mail again. Next time, just DM us.
But Yetis, the biggest news in fashion isn't Pierre Cadeau. It's Urban Outfitters.
Get this, Yetis. Urban Outfitters was one of the only fashion stocks that was actually up in the last year.
Urban Outfitters beat American Eagle, Abercrombie & Fitch. It even beat The Gap.
And Jack, what was the key reason why Urban Outfitters is powering high as a stock these days?
The star of this Philadelphia-based fashion company is its clothing rental business, Newly.
Newly. For $88 a month, you get like 6 items shipped to you in a box.
It's actually shipped to you in a duffel bag. I should know, because I return my wife's every month.
Or maybe you're returning your own, Jack. You can admit that as well on the pod.
I'm actually waiting for a men's line to come out, which hasn't happened yet.
So Jack or Jack's wife wears the clothes all month and then sends back what they don't want, keeps what they do want.
It's a monthly clothing rental business with the option to buy.
And then Urban Outfitters acts like a giant laundromat and rinses and repeats the whole thing to other people.
And according to Urban's management, this division is outperforming all expectations.
Okay, 150,000 subscribers. Revenues nearly tripled in the last year to $130 million.
Now, this division is not profitable yet, and it only represents 5% of Urban's clothing sales.
But it is is also the fastest growing part of the entire Urban Outfitters company.
Which leads to an existential question. Cannibalization.
Cannibalization. Like, can Urban Outfitters sell something to you, but also rent to you at the same time?
In other words, if I rent 6 cute tops from Urban Outfitters every month,
No judgments.
then I don't ever have to buy clothing because I get a fresh wardrobe every month.
That is the cannibalization problem, but we just got fresh data from Bloomberg that gives us the answer.
The rental business, Nuuly, is not cannibalizing urban store sales.
In fact, get this, the majority of Nuuly customers are actually new to Urban Outfitters.
So when I rent a romper on Nuuly, I'm not stealing sales from Urban Outfitters.
It would be a romp him, but instead, Jack just got introduced to Urban for the very first time.
So renting out rompers isn't eating slices of Urban's existing business.
No, it's not.
It's growing the urban pie, which is a good thing.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Urban Outfitters?
A second shaker can beat a first mover.
Yetis, let's go back to 2009. That's when Rent the Runway pioneered the clothing rental business. They created an entirely new disruptive concept.
Thanks to Rent the Runway, you could rent an unaffordable Chanel dress for a big wedding you were going to, and then return it when you got home.
Or buy it if you loved it. It's an innovative concept. They're still innovative today.
But the wildest stat about this story is that Nuuly was founded 10 years after Rent the Runway was.
But now Nuuly has more users than Rent the Runway.
Rent the Runway was first, Nuuly was second.
Yet Nuuly, Urban Outfitters' side hustle, is now bigger than Rent the Runway's main hustle.
The insight here, first movers lead the market, potentially becoming synonymous with the category.
But second shakers see what is and what isn't working, and they can launch more strategically.
That's the second shaker advantage that explains Nuuly's success.
For our second story, Apple is going to spend, get this, $1 billion every single year to make movie theater movies.
Apple is trying to produce what we're calling the first ever money-making commercial.
Okay, but Jack, before we jump into all that, can we say that Apple controls the smallest screen in your life?
Your Apple Watch?
Okay, yeah. But they also kind of control the medium-sized screen in your life.
Your iPhone? Your iPad?
Well, get this. Apple is now coming for the biggest screen in the world.
Your iPad Pro?
We're talking movie theaters. Yetis, Bloomberg just found out that Apple is going to spend $1 billion a year to produce movies for movie theater debuts.
The way Tim Cook sees it, cinemas are the iPad Pro Plus Max.
Now, we're not talking indie films here, are we, Jack? Like, we're not going to see subtitles. This isn't coming out in like a Williamsburg theater, right?
No, Apple is bringing out the big guns of Hollywood.
Okay, Apple, get this. They are doing a Martin Scorsese movie in theaters starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
The last time Scorsese and DiCaprio partnered up was The Departed.
Okay, is this like Departed 2? Do we know what's happening here?
I'm not sure what's happening. I don't think it's Departed 2.
Okay, hit us up at T-Boy Pod if you've got a leak. In the meantime, they're also doing a Ridley Scott movie. And Jack, he was the director of Gladiator. What's he going to do for Apple?
And this movie is based on Napoleon,
Ooh,
which I'm
okay.
excited to learn about through a movie.
Big question, who's going to play Napoleon? That's a little awkward.
My vote's for John Franco.
There's got to be at least one actor out there with a literal Napoleon complex, Jack.
That's good. That's good.
Now, Yetis, we're not talking MGM. We're not talking Universal Studios. We are not talking Paramount, and we are not talking about Warner Brothers here.
We're talking about Apple becoming a major player in Hollywood big picture blockbuster movies.
Apple has got enough Oscar winners involved in this initiative to make Sally Field cry again.
But Yetis, the plot thickens because Apple is not the only tech character in this story that's going full Hollywood.
Adam, can we do like a dun-dun?
Amazon acquired MGM Studios, remember?
Yeah, Amazon, Jack, they've got the Los Angeles itch right now.
And Amazon, according to Bloomberg, is planning 12 to 15 of their own theatrical releases next year.
So, like, it's not just Apple. Alexa wants an Oscar too right now.
But Nick and I were thinking to ourselves, this doesn't really make sense.
I mean, Jack, what's going on here, right? Like, theaters are one of the only industries that hasn't recovered from the pandemic.
You might have seen Top Gun 2 in theaters, but the box office is still 40% below the pre-pandemic normal levels.
Okay, but then Jack and I kept talking about it over the weekend. We were like, and tech companies want to go direct to your living room. They don't want a movie theater middleman.
So why are two of the biggest tech companies that are obsessed with growth and scaling doubling down on a dying business with a middleman?
Jack, any instinct on what it could be?
Maybe it's the popcorn.
It's a junior mint. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in the concession stand?
Apple is creating the first ever money-making commercial.
Honestly, Yetis, we were thinking about this all weekend. Why is big tech jumping into a slowing, physical, brick and mortar, century-old industry
That asks you if you want butter on your popcorn when it's not actually butter that they're putting on your popcorn?
We know what you're up to, Regal Cinemas.
Now, the answer, it's partly because Hollywood has an ego. Scorsese won't do an Apple movie unless it's on the big screen.
But the other reason we think is because the big screen is really a giant billboard for Apple TV Plus, their streamer.
That's right. If you think about it, the theatrical release is one giant commercial for Apple's streaming service.
Here's how Jack and I see it. A movie theater goer is going to be reminded of the great movies on Apple TV Plus, and Apple's going to bring in box office revenue from that movie.
Apple's going to make money on movie ticket sales while advertising their streamer.
That is why big tech is buying into a dying industry, movie theaters.
Apple is creating a 90-minute long money-making commercial. And now a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
In the future, you may wear pants on your head and shirts on your feet.
We don't know what future you will dress like.
But we do know that future you will be happier if present you prepared for retirement.
Future you would be really happy to wake up 40 years from now with a loaded IRA.
Although no one knows how investments will perform, an IRA offered by Robinhood is like giving future you a gift from yourself.
Because Robinhood matches 1% of every eligible dollar you contribute to future you.
It's the only IRA that does that every year. Limitations apply.
To get started, go to Robinhood.com/TBoy and get your first stock for free. Conditions apply.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOY.
All investments involve risk. Contributions to and withdrawals from IRAs may entail tax consequences. Robinhood does not provide tax advice.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. For our third and final story, before we hit the story, Jack, I think me and all the Yetis want to know, if you did pursue that romper, what color are you thinking for this thing, by the way?
Flannel. That's right. Flannel.
Yeah, you're going to show Urban Outfitters who's boss. For our third and final stories, Yetis, we got Ford Motor Company. Ford just showed its ugly electric car losses for the very first time.
Investors are keeping the faith, though, because of the light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, Ford, it's Nick and Jack here. We know what you've been up to. You should come clean, Ford.
Ford just updated its dating app profile pics.
It's dating app profile pics. Look, Yetis, each quarter, publicly traded companies have to show us an earnings report.
They have to show us how much money they made and how much money they still have.
But that's not it. What else do they have to do in each of those earnings reports, Jack?
Every company announces how much each segment of their business made individually.
And the way Jack and I see it, that segment breakdown in every earnings report, it's really a company's dating profile.
Specifically, it's the 5 pics that you get to put in your dating app profile, but for investor Tinder.
Jack, what was our buddy Dan's rule for like the 3 pictures you have to have in every dating profile? Do you remember what it was?
Well, this is a little dated, but every guy needed a picture with their mom, a picture in their athletic uniform, and a picture with their dog.
Or I think for men and women, it was like the 3 Ps. You needed a picture with a puppy, a picture with a place, and a picture with people.
I guess so. That sounds right.
Either way, you can strategize love.
Well, Ford always showed investors a picture of its North America business, its European business, and its Asia business.
But now Ford has decided to mix it up. It's doing something a little bit different, right, Jack?
New me, new Ford, new day, new me. Ford just made over its dating app with a new segment look.
Ford is showing off. Instead of travel pictures, Ford is now going to show investors pictures of its 3 different types of cars.
That's right, Yetis. Ford's 3 new segments are electric cars, gas-powered cars, and commercial fleets.
But funny thing, Jack, and I noticed about these new Ford segments. And what is that, Jack?
The new Ford picture looks pretty bad. One of them in particular.
Yeah, specifically the electric cars from Ford.
This is the first time investors have seen a picture of Ford's electric car division.
And what do we see, Jack?
A $2 billion loss last year.
Wow, that is not an attractive look for a dating profile.
Ford sells the second most electric cars in the United States behind Tesla.
And yet, while Tesla's electric vehicles made $12 billion in profits last year, Jack, what did Ford's do?
Ford's lost $2 billion.
Like we said, not a good look. But Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Ford?
The light at the end of the tunnel is twice as bright.
Okay, here's the shocking thing, Yetis. How did investors react to Ford revealing its ugly electric vehicle picture?
Surprisingly well.
Really well. Like Ford stock actually rose last week despite everything we just said.
Despite the big losses in the segment that Ford is betting their future on. Their electric car segment.
And here's why. Investors know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is more profitable.
Long term, electric cars are simply more profitable than gas guzzlers because electric cars are simpler to make.
Despite your in-laws' skepticism. For example, Tesla's profit margin, 16%, that is double Ford's, General Motors, and Toyota's profit margins.
That's why investors are okay with Ford's huge electric car losses today.
Because they know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light is twice as bright. Jack, can you whip up the takeaways for us to kick off the week?
Newly, the clothing rental business is Urban Outfitters' shining star.
Because a second shaker can beat a first mover.
For our second story, Apple has won a Best Picture already for an indie film, but now they're getting into blockbusters.
Think of them as like 90-minute money-making commercials for Apple TV+.
And our third and final story is Ford. They just showed us a picture of their EV profitability. It's ugly.
But there's a light at the end of the tunnel for electric cars, and that light is more profitable. Now, time for the best fact yet. This one sent in by Chris Harpy from lovely Asheville, North Carolina.
The largest bill ever printed by the U.S. Treasury, like the largest, U.S. dollar.
Talk to me, Jack.
It's not the $100 Ben Franklin $100 note.
Okay, we know what you're thinking. All right, the biggest U.S. bill, it must be the $1,000 bill, right?
I've never seen a $1,000 bill, have you?
I don't know, it's like Narnia. You got to believe in it for it to exist, Jack.
It's actually a $100,000 bill.
Not 1,000, not 10,000. The United States once printed a few $100,000 bills.
But only a handful of those $100,000 notes were ever printed.
So the few that are left are probably worth more than 100,000.
Yeah, it's the only bill that's dishonest about its value.
In a lot of ways, that bill is like a Girl Scout cookie.
How?
Because they're getting sold on eBay. They're getting sold on eBay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. They're
Where's
sold
the
on
whole
eBay.
takeaway on this, man?
Yeah, the price tag is dishonest. It's actually way more.
Yetis, you look fantastic today. And if you haven't yet, remember to drop down and give us a 5-star rating and review.
We have a few more than 9,000 ratings on Apple. We'd love to hit that $10,000 note.
Why round up when we can hit 10K?
Nick and I will see you tomorrow.
Can't wait. And before we go, a shout out to legendary Yeti, Alice in California, who has her 3rd round of chemo this week to beat cancer.
And mazel tov to Sydney Lewis and Jacob Cohen, who just got engaged in Chicago.
And Bear Brisser is going to his first concert ever at 4 years old, and it's a K-pop concert.
Alex Chang has 2 things to celebrate, a master's degree and a new job down in FLA.
And Daniel Lay just got a new job as a data scientist over at The Gap.
Congratulations to Hannah Kansas for getting a new job in San Diego.
And Eliana and Jeremy Greenberg just got married in lovely Memphis, Tennessee.
And the Good Guy of the Week award goes to Sterling Salzberg, who just helped move his entire family from Maine all the way to San Francisco.
And a happy birthday to Virginia Allen, who's celebrating that birthday with her sister in Atlanta right now.
And happy 22nd birthday to Carolina Goldman in New York City.
And bon anniversaire to Matthew Rahman in lovely Paris, France.
Happy birthday to Jessica Yang, a legendary Yeti down in Austin, Texas.
And Manisha Bijaragi Kalyankar is celebrating that birthday on a beach in Cancun, Mexico.
And happy birthday to Jane Seo, who is celebrating down on the one happy island of Aruba.
And Andrew Bolton, enjoy that birthday over in New York City.
And happy birthday to Josh Manis on his way to work in Reno, Nevada. This is Jack. I own stock of Ford and Amazon, and Nick and I both own stock of Apple and Robinhood. And now, a word from our sponsor, Robinhood.
Is there anything more stressful than a buffet? You got the chicken or the fish, the salad or the salsa?
You're paralyzed over potatoes versus pork.
Well, when you're saving for retirement, you may feel that decision fatigue too.
Which stocks or ETFs do you invest in for your IRA?
Well, with Robinhood, you can get a personalized recommended portfolio. You can pick your own stocks or ETFs, or you can do a bit of both.
You can do their recommended burrito bowl, or pick a little bit of everything.
And customizing your retirement portfolio is commission-free.
Other fees may apply. To get started, go to Robinhood.com/tboy and get your first stock free.
Conditions apply, and recommended portfolios are not available to residents of Massachusetts.
That's Robinhood.com/TBOI.
All investments involve risk. Contributions to and withdrawals from IRAs may entail tax consequences. Robinhood does not provide tax advice.
Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC.
No, I'm just kidding. I rolled with it. I mean, dude, I was reading about this. The first rule of stand-up is you never say no. That's why I was asking so much, actually, about your line before that you wanted me to say is there's no in stand-up. There's only yes. It was a Tina Fey thing. Tina Fey said stand-up dies when you say no to someone's idea. I thought that was great. But then you said no to your own idea.